Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Caregiver Crosswalk, Dementia Care Consulting. Never roam alone.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed, little Born to Run with Springsteen. Always gotta love that song. My name is Matt Delvecchio, specializing in life transitions, downsizing in the senior living industry.
And I'm Corey Sirota, clinical social worker and author of Someone Died, Now What?
All right, and if you're listening, loyal CJD listeners, yes, it is Saturday. It's 3:30. Normally we'd be on Sundays. We've permanently been switched to Saturdays and loving it on Saturdays. Thank you for joining us. And we're trying to work through also some of our home studio issues. I'm in studio. Corey is on her phone now, actually. So, Corey, you hanging in there?
We're just doing my best. This is Life Unrehearsed, after all.
Life Unrehearsed is right. We've got a really hot, interesting topic coming up, don't we, Corey?
Absolutely. I wanted to start off by just asking you, Matt, are you missing, I know you've been active, are you missing sports, doing sports?
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, I like my hockey. I've been playing hockey for almost 50 years. And I still play once or twice a week prior to the pandemic, but we haven't played for a long, long time. And I'm missing it. I'm missing both for the physical side of it and equally, if not more important, just being with the guys in the locker room and joking around as we normally do. So it has taken a toll, and it has taken a toll, I think, on many young athletes as well as their parents. You know, there really is a growing sentiment that the government should start loosening restrictions against organized sports. Just the reaction on our Life Unrehearsed Facebook page, Corey, tons of reaction there. Some of you may know and have heard of Enrico Ciccone. He's our M&A from Marquette. He was all over the news this week. He's an ex-NHLer, of course, ex-Canadian, and he was advocating hard this week to try to open things up. Well, to weigh in on this subject, we have Sean D'Souza on the line, and we also have his daughter, Madison, on the line as well. Madison is 16 years old and in Secondary 5 at Sacred Heart. She's heading to Dawson next year, and she plays defense on the Lac St. Louis Warriors Midget AAA women's hockey team. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Sean. Hey, Madison. Sean, you know what? We're going to kick it off with you. So we want to hear from yourself. Do you think it's time the government starts to relax confinement rules concerning organized sports?
Well, Matt, the government restrictions, have resulted in a clear reduction of physical activity for the entire population. And in turn, there are direct negative physiological consequences such as strength and muscle loss, weight gain, drop in cardio capacity, just to name a few. And for higher level athletes who are accustomed to a heavier training load than the general population, I think the impact is actually exponential. You've got physical, technical, and psychological damage, which I think is virtually inevitable. And when sports does return, not only will performance drop, but I think you're also going to see a greater risk of injury for all athletes, from the elite to the weekend warriors and the garage hockey players such as yourself. Team sports has a significant social component, as much as the obvious physiological benefits. It's well accepted, that the mental health of the general population is being impacted by confinement. I would venture to say that there may be an additional strain on those who have been accustomed to partaking in team sports. So, I do believe the government needs to relax confinement rules whenever and wherever possible, while, of course, keeping the safety of the community in mind. It's easy for the government to justify other priorities, in the midst of a pandemic and put, sports and team sports on the back burner. But I think a true effort should be made to get back to sports, even if it means coming up with some sort of interim or workaround solution.
So I have a question for Madison. I want to know, from your perspective, what do you miss most about not being able to play competitive hockey?
Well, first of all, hockey was a major part of my weekly routine. So there's definitely a piece of my life missing, and I feel it. There's so many things that I miss from the game itself, the competition, the intensity, competing, of course, my teammates and the locker room talks. I also miss, the out-of-town hockey tournaments, which I usually have 2 or 3 each season. And it would just be so much fun, being in the back of the bus with my teammates, my friends, the team meals, the hotels, having the chance to play teams from across North America, which we would usually never play. And just the time spent during hockey was an escape from the pressures of school and teenage life, and it was a major stress reliever for me.
Madison, I think you're right on the money. Part of what you're describing, there's the hockey component, but there's so much more to that, and it's being with everyone, it's the travel, and it's so much more that we miss. I think many people that are involved in sports. And Sean, I'm going to turn it over back to you. And what would you say? There's a lot of naysayers out there, Sean, and people are saying, look, it's too early. Let's keep everything locked down, and that might be a big mistake to allow organized sports again. What do you say?
Well, Matt, if you look at the success of just the big leagues, the NHL, NBA, in last season's playoffs, in preventing infections, it's proof that the bubble method does work. Particularly since it removes players from the community, which I think is key. Unfortunately, we can't put Pee Wee or university student athletes in a bubble in the way that the pro leagues can. Locker rooms are undoubtedly places of closeness, and likely a big driver of infections in team sports. So, if the athletes are coming home from their team sport to where there's an older grandparent or someone with some sort of underlying health condition, they could be putting that person in a situation of heightened or greater risk. And so no matter what steps are taken on the rink or at the rink or on the court, the bigger risk is where and how players are engaging with the community. And with that being said, though, with COVID numbers in Quebec dropping, and as the vaccine rolls out, I know we should soon be experiencing a reduction in community transmissions, which is, to me, a strong signal to allow team sports again. And so while team sports we know is important for physical and mental health, there is a balance, I think, that must be struck for both the athlete and for the community in which the athlete lives. And once team sports are back, I think there's another decision for the individual athlete and their family to decide for themselves, based on their own personal situation, when the right time will be for them to return to play with their team.
No, I hear you, Sean. That's Sean D'Souza. He's the father of Madison, who's a 16-year-old who plays defense on the Lac St. Louis Warriors Midget AAA women's hockey team. And I want to go back to you, Madison. You talked about what you're missing. I think I would like our listeners to get a sense of how many hours a week you were normally on the ice, and also what are you doing to keep busy during shutdown?
Well, I was typically on the ice and in the gym 5 or 6 days a week, which can add up to 8 hours of actual playing or training time. But then if you add preparation and travel time, some weeks can add up to 25 hours solely dedicated to hockey. And unfortunately, the restrictions have made it very difficult to get on the ice and let alone compete to the level I'm used to. But fortunately, we have a decent gym at home, so I've been able to work on my strength and conditioning. And with the outdoor rinks, I've been taking advantage of getting on the ice and working on some skills and shinny hockey. And I've been also spending a lot more time on social media and YouTube to the frustration of my parents. But overall, I feel that I'm replacing the hockey-related time reasonably well, as I know other kids my age are having a lot of trouble with the isolation.
Yeah, difficult for sure, Madison, and good on you. For trying to keep active. I hope you're teaching your dad a few things on that treadmill. Now, I have to add before we have to head out to traffic, but I have to add, Madison, you are owed a big congratulations. You were awarded as the top student in all of Midget AAA Women's Hockey League in Quebec. So congratulations to you. It's doing sports is one thing, but being academically, having the excellence and the time and the studying that you're doing. So hats off to you. And I have one final question for you, Madison. Who shouts louder at hockey games, your dad or your mom?
My mom.
So I've heard. That's Sean D'Souza with his daughter, Madison. Madison and Sean, thanks for coming in, taking some time on a Saturday to be with us.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Caregiver Crosswalk, Dementia Care Consulting. Never roam alone.
And welcome back. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed. My name is Matt Del Vecchio, along with my co-host Corey Sirota, and we're talking about exploring the effects of canceling organized sports on our youth. And to continue along with this, we have Jackie Cummings on the line and her son, Jack. Jack is 13 years old and part of the Sportitude hockey program at John Rennie High School. How's it going, guys?
Hey, hi guys.
So, hi, welcome to Life Unrehearsed. So we're going to ask you the same questions we asked earlier. Do you think, I'm going to ask this to Jackie, do you think it's time that the government starts to relax confinement rules concerning team sports?
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to thank you both for discussing this topic today, because I've spoken to so many crazy hockey parents like myself who really feel like the government's completely forgotten about their kids for the last year. The way I see it is COVID is not going away anytime soon. So we really need to resume organized sports for our kids and do it safely the way that we did it with the schools. We were really nervous to send our kids back in the fall, but the measures were put into place and we were able to do it as safely as possible. And I think we need to apply that to sports now. I think we're ready. It's been almost a year. It was March 12th when we had to clear out the hockey lockers. So it's been a year that they have not had this in their lives.
Just amazing. And I think you're right. There is this general sentiment that, okay, I think it may be time if we do it right. I'm going to switch it over to Jack. Jack, how are you doing here?
I'm good. You?
No, I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for doing this. And first of all, just to repeat, you're at John Rennie High School in the Sportitude hockey program. What position are you?
I play defense.
Defense. I've seen some video of you playing. You're a heck of a hockey player, and you know what? You're a heck of a baseball player as well. So I have to ask you, what do you miss most about not being able to play competitive sports?
Well, the part that I miss most is definitely the tournaments and the games, because those are by far the most fun part of hockey. And I also get to spend the most time with all my friends during those games and those tournaments. But practices are fun, but they're not at all the same as games, because there's not that competitive environment and it's not as exciting to play. But I'm lucky because I get to play in the Sportitude program and I get to practice every day. So I'm more fortunate than others, but still I'd rather be playing games.
I hear you, Jack. No question about it. There's nothing like, even me, who's not such a big sports aficionado, there's nothing like playing, etc., even for me watching those games. So I'm going to flip back to Jackie. What would you say to the people who think that it's a huge mistake to allow team sports again?
Well, listen, nothing is risk-free. You know, even just going to the grocery store is not risk-free. And I think parents have to weigh the risks of their kids returning to sports, the risks for their family. And to me, the benefits outweigh the risks if it's done properly. Sports were a huge part of Jack's lives, of our lives pre-pandemic. You know, we spent most of our weekends and most of our nights, and we were at the rink, and they were playing and having fun, and even we were socializing also with the other parents. So I think, especially teenagers, they need to socialize, they need to be with their friends, and they need to start moving again, doing some physical activity. You know, things other than just gaming, like just sitting around and gaming. Like, you know, it's really for their physical, but also their mental health. I think they really need to, it was, like I said, such a big part of their lives, and it was just taken away from them and shut down, and it's been a year. So I think it's been long enough, and I think we've seen other places are doing it. You know, we opened up our schools first and our daycares first, and we seem like we're the last place to open up sports again. So, you know, I think we know what to do and how to do it, and I think it's really time.
Jackie, gaming, the kids don't. Jack, you don't game. There's no gaming going on with the kids, eh?
A bit.
Good.
And he's with all his hockey guys, but you know, instead of being on the ice, they're all playing Call of Duty. You know? Right. It's not the same.
No, not the same as right. You're listening to Life Unrehearsed here with Matt and Corey. We're talking with Jackie Cummings. Jackie's the mom of Jack, and Jack's attending the Sportitude hockey program at John Rennie High School. You might have heard our previous guest with Madison playing for the Lac St. Louis AAA Warriors hockey team in Quebec. And, you know, Jack, you're playing hockey as well, but hockey season is pretty well wrapping up. You know, the Canadians are in the heart of it, but, you know, we're going to be March. It's around the corner, and hockey would normally be wrapping up. And baseball season is coming up. I know there's a lot of baseball and soccer moms and parents and kids out there. So are you hoping the baseball season will get underway?
Yeah, I really hope, because I get to be with all my friends, and I get to play outside, and it's really fun. I didn't get to have a season last year, so I'd love one this year, because I play hockey 5 days a week, every week. So you need to switch it up. And I love when I get to play baseball, just because it's a switch and new friends, new people, and it's a new sport.
Well, fair enough. I'm curious, Jack. What have you been doing to keep yourself busy, short of Call of Duty, doing this with all this free time?
Well, I go to the park with my friends a lot, but we social distance and wear a mask when we play outside. We play on the rink a lot. Sometimes we'll go sledding when there's a lot of snow. We try to go outside as much as we can, but sometimes when you can't, we just stay inside. But it makes us excited for school, which we wouldn't usually be, because I get to do it on my hockey.
I love it.
Well, there, Mom, there's the silver lining in this whole situation.
There's something.
Well, there you go. And Jack, from what I understand, you'd love the locker room talk, a bit of a joker in the locker room, so I've been told, and that's hard. You no longer have that with your buddies. And Jackie, I want to throw it over back to you, because I think you can be the voice of many other parents out there, you know, who are concerned. And I think what you just said, it's been hard on parents too, you know, because the chauffeur hat is coming off, but you are seeing your kids probably a lot more than you would typically during a season. So how, from a parent perspective, have you been making out?
It's not easy. I mean, like I said, the majority of our free time was spent either driving to the rink, preparing for the game, watching the game, or watching a practice, and eating. You know, everything was revolving around sports, which was great. And you know, maybe even to a little excess. We did it maybe too much, but to all of a sudden go from that to zero, it's hard. Even the other day at pickup at school, there was a few parents there, and everybody got out. It was freezing cold, and we're all standing outside just to have a little bit of communication and, you know, socializing ourselves. It was great just to see everybody again. Like, we really, we barely see anybody. So it's sad that they're missing that big part of their lives.
Without a doubt, the connection is huge. You know, and you're describing it so well. Yes, it's the physical piece, but also the connection is enormous.
Absolutely, it is. Well, you know, we want to thank both of you very much for coming on the air. Jack, 13 years old, coming on live radio. You knocked it out of the park, buddy. Way to go. You know.
Thank you so much.
You know, and I have to, one little comment. Next time you're FaceTiming with Nanny Wendy, okay, make sure you give her a big virtual hug for me through FaceTime, will you?
I will for you.
All right, thanks. Wendy is the absolute best. Thank you very much. And
thank you guys so much.
Thank you to all the parents listening who have done what they can, and all the students hanging in there, and all the athletes. There is a silver lining. Again, not out of the woods yet, but you've got to hang in there. Corey, we have a heck of a show lined up for next week, don't we?
That's right. Next week on Life Unrehearsed, aging at home versus making a move. Many are choosing to stay at home, while others have decided to make that move. We're going to hear about why.
And we're also going to hear from Claire Webster and Dr. Jacqueline Josa. They're going to be talking about the impact of cardiovascular disease. And we're going to hear Claire's fascinating story of getting a pacemaker at just 19 years old, and 6 pacemakers later, she's still thriving, yet always conscious of her health condition. That's going to be next Saturday. Thank you for tuning in to Life Unrehearsed. We have big thanks to our technical producer, Jimmy G, on the board. Thank you. And you can catch us every Saturday in CJD 800 at 3 p.m.
Life Unrehearsed, brought to you by Leanna Senior Transition Support, specialists in downsizing and seniors' residences.